What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Stout Out Show, your one-stop shop for all things MMA bets, breakdowns, and predictions. All right, on deck for today's show, we have UFC 317. The main event is going to be for the vacant lightweight strat. Chuck Oliveira is taking on Ilia Topuria, and on the bantamweight side of things for the co-main, we have Kai Kara-France taking on the champion Alexandre Pantoja. But before we get into that, let's go right into the prelims and the first fight of the night. That's going to be two UFC newcomers making their debuts. We have Jackson McVey taking on Chile's own Christopher Ewert. This is a middleweight bout. McVey is a minus 150 or minus 150 favorite, while Ewert's a plus 125 dog. McVey is like a 6'4", 77-inch reach, lanky guy. He's undefeated. He's got a 100% finish rate. His frame really gives him that long reach, so he's able to keep dudes at distance, which I really like. But what's not tested, if he's not able to finish guys early, like the deep waters, and his gas tank isn't really tested yet. On the other hand, conversely, we have Ewert, who's taking this fight on 4 days' notice. He literally, we know that Cedric Dumas was supposed to fight here. Due to his extracurricular activities with law enforcement, he will obviously not be fighting. He withdrew. Ewert's, 5 of his first 7 wins have come by TKO. Wow, I can talk. TKO. Dude is definitely looking for a finish. All right. He likes to target, he's got good body shot awareness, so he likes to target that liver shot. He's got super accurate combination, like visceral accurate combinations. The one thing that we don't know about him, though, is his grappling. He hasn't really been tested on the ground. Whereas McVey, he does have, I believe it's like 3 or 4 sub wins. So, I'm going to say we're going to take McVey here. I'm going to say second round submission for the win on that one. But, both of them haven't really been tested against, UFC caliber fighters. So, I kind of, for me, it's more of like a pick 'em, but I'm going to go with McVey for the win with this one second round submission. All right, on the next fight we have is going to be in the heavyweight division, another UFC newcomer as well. Jhonata Diniz is taking on Alvin Hines. Jhonata Diniz is a minus 350 favorite, while Alvin Hines is a plus 270 dog. All right, Diniz is got some fucking heavy hands. Okay, he's coming off of I know he's coming off a TKO loss to Martin Tybura. That happened in November 2024, but he's got 7 TKO wins. He definitely has that one knockout or one punch KO power. He's got that good kick, he blends Muay Thai and kickboxing really, really well. I know he used to be a former Glory kickboxing champion back in the day, but, the one thing that he does lack is, his grappling. He struggles against elite level grapplers. His game is still evolving in that, dimension, but, he's improving. Where, on the other hand, Alvin Hines, for those who don't know, he still works a full-time 40-hour job while training. He's not solely dedicated to MMA as of yet. He's got his shot right here and now. He's, LFA, former heavyweight champion. He averages 18.4 strikes a minute. And I think only one fight of Hines has gone the distance, or he has gone the full 15 minutes. He's looking to put you out early and often. He's got he's got really good hands. He's got, good crisp jab. But another thing, again, is he's not fought a UFC caliber fighter. This is going to be a very big test for him, especially, for a guy who's still putting in solid work week, Monday through Friday. But, one of our 2 hot takes for the day is I'm going to take Hines to win this one. I think he does have some submission wins on his record. So if he's reading the scouting report, I think he can take Diniz down and get that sub win. So I'm definitely going to say round 1 or 2 submissions for Hines. All right, the next fight on the night is going to be Niko Price taking on Jacobe Smith. This fight is in the welterweight division and by far has the widest margin as far as odds go. Okay, Niko Price is a plus 1,000 underdog, while Jacobe Smith is a minus 3,000 favorite. Okay, not taking anything away against Niko Price. He's got an 8-2 record. It's, super inconsistent. He loses 1, wins 1, loses 2, wins 2. It's very, very, inconsistent. He's an older guy. He's 35, but he loves to brawl. Okay, he's looking for that. He's definitely looking for the finish. Unfortunately, in October of 2024, he lost a unanimous decision to who is it, Themba Gorimbo. But the two losses before that were both TKO and KO losses. So you really got to question his chin to see if that's if it's going with Father Time. Got some solid jiu-jitsu. He's really aware what position he's in at all times, so he can finish the game there. He doesn't really rely on that though. Again, like I said, he's looking for the KO. Conversely, though, he takes a lot of shots. He absorbs a super amount of damage, a lot of significant strikes, and the guy to not do that against is definitely Jacobe Smith. Okay, he's 2-0 in the UFC. Just got a TKO win against Preston Parsons in January. Got good wrestling. Definitely got heavy one punch power. This is going to be a good test for him because he's, Niko Price is a good UFC vet and he's only fought, 2 or 3, UFC caliber guys. But, he is going to, if I'm looking at it and predicting it correct, actually, I think he's going to try to control the pace by using like takedowns early and often and probably try to finish the ground and pound. But I'm saying Hines definitely getting the win on this one and finishing inside of round 1. Jacobe Hines for TKO on that one. All right, next up in the lightweight division, we have Terrance McKinney taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. And, McKinney is the minus 170 favorite, and Borshchev is a plus 140 underdog. McKinney is 6-4 in the UFC. Speaking of finishes, all 16 of his wins, it's balanced. It's 8 KOs and TKOs and 8 sub wins. He's not been to a decision one time. He just had the TKO win against Amir Hadzovic. That was in February. I think 8 of his UFC wins. No, actually, no, I take that back. All of his UFC wins have ended in first round finishes. So that's kind of impressive. As on the negative side, though, as the fight kind of gets into the later rounds, like late round 2, late round 3, his performance kind of dips. His cardio isn't where it needs to be. He still needs to work on that a little bit if he needs to work on anything. I know he wrestled in college, but, likes to expend a lot of energy early and often. And it's kind of worked out for him. Like I said, he's got a 6-4 record in the UFC, but Borshchev, on the other hand, he's 4-4-1 in the UFC. He just had that unanimous decision loss to Tom Nolan in February. He's 2-2-1 in his last 5. He's decision-heavy losses, though. He's never been KO'd or TKO'd. I know he's been subbed sometimes, but, he stands in that weird orthodox stance and he relies heavily on kickboxing, so he gets good, he likes to keep guys at range, which is good, but, he's got a couple performance of the nights, which is solid. He thrives in those high-intensity exchanges, which, I like, but he's super decision-heavy favorite. He doesn't even, he doesn't even have a submission win in the UFC. Terrance McKinney is probably going to look to take him down to the ground. I'm saying McKinney first in the sub, probably mid round 2, if trying not to get him in round 1. It's not a big favorable matchup for Borshchev because Borshchev doesn't really have solid takedown defense. McKinney is, like I said, he's a college wrestler. I mean, he's going to eat him up alive in that aspect. So I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney, either sub round 1 or early round 2. All right, next fight we have is going to be in the women's division. The women's flyweight is going to be Tracy Cortez taking Viviane Araujo. I'm going to screw that up. Araujo. Viviane is 7-5 in the UFC. She's a little older. She's 38 years old. You could say she's kind of declining with talent. You know what I mean? She's 2-3 in her last 5 fights. She's the former Pancrase strawweight champion. She's got, pretty solid power. She's able to, keep people at distance, which is good. She likes to control the range and striking. Good cardio. She comes on late. She comes on really strong in the later rounds, so she doesn't fade away. But Cortez, the majority of her wins are coming from decision. She's not, it's not like she's scared to go into the fights later in the rounds. She's got really, really good stand-up. And, her last loss was to Rose Namajunas, and that happened in July of last year, and she lost decision. Tracy Cortez doesn't really, possess that one-punch KO power, but she, her volume output of strikes is a lot. She likes to put it on you early and often. Pause. She uses the clinch to set up, good takedowns, likes to remain on top, control. I think she's going to ride out the decision in this one. I think this fight's definitely going the distance. She's got that good IQ, so she's going to know how to take it down, know how to take her down and keep her there. I just think that, I think Viviane's got maybe 2-3 fights max left in her, but yeah, I think, and Tracy Cortez, she's on the rise. So Tracy Cortez, going to keep, reignite the streak. She's going to get the decision win. Fight goes the distance. All right. The next fight we have is in the featherweight division. It's Hyder Amil taking on Jose Delgado. All right, 2 undefeated dudes in the UFC. Hyder Amil, scrap pack dude. His coach is Gil Melendez. We love that. He's got that switch stance, which is really unorthodox. He is on a solid hot streak, dude. He's got 11 fight win streak, even at age 35. Good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, both better than average. Constantly does that forward pressure, good cardio, and solid endurance when it comes to later rounds. This is going to be a big test for Jose Delgado, though. Okay, Jose Delgado just knocked out Connor Matthews in March. He's on a 6-fight winning streak. Literally, out of his 9 wins, he's got 5 KOs and 4 submissions. So he's not looking for the decision either. So I'm pretty hyped about this fight, especially going into the main card. So, but I think, like I said, I know it's a big test for him in terms of fight and fight IQ and UFC caliber. But I think Hyder Amil is going to take it. I think Hyder Amil's got the patience and wherewithal to take down Jose Delgado. I think it's not going to really come from Jose Delgado's power, but more like, hey, can he figure Hyder Amil out? So I think Hyder Amil is going to take this one. I'm going to say it goes the distance. Hyder Amil for the win. All right. Rounding out the prelim card, we have Jack Hermansson making his comeback to the Octagon. He's a plus 160 dog taking on Gregory Rodriguez, who's minus 190. This is a middleweight bout. Jack Hermansson, 16-month layoff at 37 years old. Never really good to see that, but hey, man, we're glad to see you getting back in there, getting back on the horse. He last fought in February of 2024. He got the unanimous decision win over Joe Pfeiffer. He's 3-2 in his last 5. He's got good takedown defense, 80% for his takedown defense. He's shown to have KO power, even though we probably haven't seen it since, I think, 2018 is the last time he he KO'd somebody or TKO'd somebody. He's, last couple ones he's been decision proud. He likes that kicking and lunging attack, but, that kind of leaves him open for counters. Gregory Rodriguez, on the other hand, he just lost to Jared Cannonier in February by TKO. But prior to that, he was on a hot streak. He had a little 3-fight run where he was doing good. Big BJJ guy, for those who don't know. He's like an 8-time champion. He's never been submitted. He's known for his good fast finishes. The only thing with Gregory Rodriguez, though, is, when it comes to getting over the hump of that top level talent, he kind of struggles. He's right at the door, but he's yet to get in, ready to kick it in. I think he's going to take this one. I think Hermansson's got enough of the ground game to keep him off and not get submitted, but I don't think he's got the good enough takedown defense to keep Gregory Rodriguez off of him that long. I think ring rust is a huge thing. 16 months is a long-ass time to take off and then get back on the horse, especially against a guy against Rodriguez. So I'm saying Gregory Rodriguez takes that one. I think it's going to go to the decision. All right, next up is going to be on the main card. But before we get into the main card, guys, if you like what you're hearing, please like, comment, and subscribe. Love hearing back. Love hearing how you guys did, taking the advice for the bets and everything like that. Comment on how you think the fights are going to unfold. Try to answer everyone. But let's get back to the main card. All right, main card is going to be first fight of the main card. First fight of the main card is going to be Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima. Talbot's going to be a plus 160, and Felipe Lima is going to be a 190. Obviously, this is going to be in the bantamweight division. Peyton Talbot is making his return to the Octagon after getting absolutely dominated by Ronnie Barcelos in January of this year. Really showed that Talbot's got some room to improve on grappling and, not getting control from the top. I mean, I don't think he took a lot of damage. I mean, but he definitely was getting, overwhelmed on the ground. He's got that switch stance, which is pretty cool. He's a high volume output guy. Likes to, measure opponents up with that jab, but trying to secure the takedown. Out of his 9 wins, he's finished 7 of them. So, it was a big test when he won against Barcelos. But, the crazy thing is, this is how fighting works, which is the craziest thing. 1 minute you're on a hot streak, the next minute, who's knocking on the door is another dude who's just as badass as you are and just as hungry as you are, and that guy's Felipe Lima. All right, he's 2-0 in the UFC, coming off a unanimous decision win against Mike Johnson that happened in 2024. He is on a 13-fight hot streak. He's never been KO'd, never been TKO'd. He combines that unorthodox kickboxing aspect with good combos, sets up good strikes using, he likes to set up good leg strikes and combos with his jab. Stalks his prey very well, covers ground pretty easily, cuts off the cage well. And then kind of, his striking is super unpredictable too. It's kind of hard to see where his kicks are coming from. That does, however, leave him over for counters. But, I mean, yeah, it leaves him open for counters. But the dude's 13-0. It's kind of hard to critique a guy who's 13-0, Ground game, it's still evolving. We've yet to really see it been tested. So if I'm Peyton Talbot, I'm going to try to read the scouting report, trying to get him down to the ground early and often. But this is going to be my second, underdog take of the fight. Okay, I'm taking Peyton Talbot, win by decision. Here's why. Okay, Peyton Talbot, I think he saw the error of his ways. Hey, man, I'm in the UFC. I had the first couple fights in my UFC career were going great. I'm this untalented prospect. I'm getting a lot of love. Barcelos says, no, easy, young fella. Welcome to the league type stuff. Peyton Talbot's got his head on him straight. I think he's looking back to, get back up on the horse. I'm saying he's going to win this one via decision. Going to get early and often control from the top. Peyton Talbot via decision. All right, the next fight on the night for the main card is going to be number 9, Beneil Dariush taking on the number 10, Renato Money Moicano. This is a pick'em one in the lightweight division, if I didn't say that earlier. Pick'em. Beneil Dariush, again, another guy who's returning to the UFC after a long layoff. I believe he tore his meniscus real bad. That was in 2024. His last fight was in 2023 against Arman Sarukian. He had that bad KO loss. And also he's on a 2-fight losing streak. 2-fight losing streak, unfortunately, both of those were KO losses. So you gotta wonder why. Him getting up there, is his chin going? Does he have, is he knockout susceptible? Leaves little room to be discussed. He does have KO power, but, last time we saw him KO somebody was in 2020. And again, the big knock on Beneil Dariush is that, he's one of these guys that's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Once it gets to those top 5 guys, like a Charles Oliveira or Arman Sarukian, he falls short. Renato Moicano is a beast. I mean, the dude literally, he just lost, he did lose 2 fights in a row, but look at who he lost to. He lost to Islam Makhachev, who just left the division. He's going to welterweight. He's a beast. And, he did lose to him via submission, but before that, he was on a 4-fight hot streak. He's got elite jiu-jitsu skills. Not saying that Beneil, doesn't, but I think Moicano is on another level when it comes to BJJ. 10 out of his 20 wins come via submission, so that's good. Doesn't really possess KO power. I think he only has 2 KO wins on his whole entire record, but we'll see. So that's going to be the big thing on him. I'm going to say Renato Moicano is going to get this one. He's going to beat Beneil. I think Beneil's pretty much maybe 2 fights max left that he's got. I know both are the same age at 36, but Moicano is more active. He's still trying to get in there. I think Beneil is kind of just winding down his career. So I'm going to say Moicano via decision. All right, on to next fight, which is going to be in the flyweight division. It's going to be number 1 ranked Brandon Royval taking on the number 11 ranked Joshua Van. All right, this is going to be another pick'em fight. It's going to be even. Joshua Van is on a super hot streak. I salute to Joshua Van. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. He's coming off a TKO win against Bruno Silva. That was literally like a couple weeks ago. I mean, he's testing himself. This is what I got. My hats off to him. He's going against Brandon Royval, who's number one for a reason. Okay, Van likes that high volume strikes. He's kind of a slow starter early in the rounds, but then later he comes on super fast and he's looking to put your lights out. Okay, his ground game's kind of still in question because we haven't really seen him do it. He likes to keep the fight standing, which is more power to him. And he's got a pretty good, strong takedown defense. Like I said, he comes on strong in the later rounds. He kind of looks to wear opponents down and then really strike. So that's good. Sorry, stories coming to the door. That's good. Brandon Royval, on the other hand, he's 7-3 in the UFC, just coming off that split decision win against a tough Tetsuya Taira in October. He's on a two-fight win streak. Excuse me. He fights southpaw, another high volume output guy. He's got elite submission skills. I honestly don't think that Van has seen a fighter like Brandon Royval yet. I mean, I think he's good with this. Standing up might be even, if not a little bit better, but he's not going to be able to defend the takedowns against Royval. I think Brandon Royval takes him down, gets the submission on him. Kind of lose his hands, kind of go down. I know in the later rounds, kind of gets tired out, but I mean, the dude's going from 11 to 1 pretty instantly with a quick turnaround. I think smart money is probably going to be on Brandon Royval. I'm taking him for the submission. I'm going to say that's going to happen probably late round 2 or early round 3. All right, the next fight we have is going to be Alexander Pantoja taking on the challenger Kai Kara-France in the flyweight division. Kai Kara-France already fought Pantoja in the Ultimate Fighter, but I think he summed it up pretty good. I think he said, hey, I fought him when I was a boy. Now I'm a man now. Things have changed. Personally, I don't think things have changed that much. Alexander Pantoja is an absolute animal. He's been the flyweight champion for a minute. He just subbed Kaya Sakura in December 2024. He is on a 7-fight hot streak. 19 out of his 26 wins total are all finished. He's never been finished before. He's a super elite grappler, and he holds the record for third most takedowns in the flyweight division. I mean, he's coming for the submission. You know what I mean? He is 35. Father Time is undefeated, but I just don't think that Kai Kara-France possesses the weapons to beat Pantoja. Kai Kara-France does have good KO power, but he's susceptible to strikes. He has been TKO'd in the past, but I just don't think he has that elite grappling level to get over the hump, which is Alexander Pantoja. He does do a lot of not a lot, but he has a good amount of decision wins because he opens up fights in the later rounds. He kind of pours it on in the later rounds, but defensively, he's got good jiu-jitsu, but offensively he never really uses it. But again, Alexander Pantoja, I mean, dude, I just don't think that he's got the defense to get Pantoja off of him. He has lapses, and like I said, he's got lapses against top 5 guys. So I'm going to say, and still Pantoja, maybe not an early finish, but I'm definitely it's not going to go to the championship rounds. I'm going to say round 2 or round 3 submission, Alexander Pantoja, and still. And in the main card, we have for the vacant lightweight strap, Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Oliveira. Odds are Topuria is a -475, Topuria is a -475, while Oliveira is a +340 dog. Ilia Topuria is an absolute animal. I mean, dude's stepping up a division. He's 8-0. He just TKO'd Max Holloway in December. A lot of people don't, well, they know this, but a lot of people don't really say it as much, but he's his background is wrestling, but he uses his boxing super well. Good crisp counters, good crisp combinations, and he's super aware where he is in the ring at all times in terms of positions and how to cut opponents off of the ring. I know people are going to, again, the big question mark is his size at lightweight. Is he going to be too light, or is he going to be, easily taken down now that he's given up a couple pounds? I think that really doesn't matter at all. I think his hands are so heavy and he's so fast that he's gonna take it home. Charles Oliveira, he just fought Michael Chandler for the second time in November 2024. Got a good decision wins. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and the two guys that he lost to are who? Islam Makhachev and again Arman Sarukian. These are dudes. Charles Oliveira is always answering the call. Man, he is trying to regain his championship belt. The dude fights the who's who of the lightweight division at all times. The big knock on him, though, is A, he's 35, and B, sometimes early in the fights he gets sat down by, counters and punches. Michael Chandler sat him down a couple times. Justin Gaethje sat him down a couple times. But I think the difference is when Ilia Topuria sits you down, which I guarantee is going to happen, when he sits you down, dude, he's like a shark with blood in the water. He is coming to fucking finish you. I think he takes it. The only way I see if Charles Oliveira wins is that he gets, if he reverses it, if he gets a good takedown, he kind of blitzes in the later rounds. Like if he smells blood in the water too, if he sees an opening or a weakness, he's super quick to attack it, especially when it comes to like taking the opponent's back or, locking up at a good body triangle. He's there. I mean, I just don't see it happening with Ilia Topuria. He's fundamentally sound almost everywhere. The only thing I don't see Ilia Topuria use too much are leg kicks. Rarely sets up, his jabs rarely set up either high kicks or leg kicks. He doesn't really use calf kicks either. So I'm saying for the vacant title, Ilia Topuria takes it. I think he's going to get Charles Oliveira out of there early, either late round 1 or early round 2. But I'm definitely saying Topuria is going to be your new lightweight champion. But only time will tell. Guys, I'm looking to do, well, that concludes the fight card. But guys, I'm looking to do about 2 videos a week, if not at the very minimum a video a week for, this content, this type of gambling content. PFL actually has 2 cards next week. So if you're interested in that, please tune in next week. I'm going to be doing 2 different videos for both those cards. So please, again, like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Look to see you on the next one. All right.